Let's talk about setup. First thing you want to do is choose the faction you want to play. In this case, one player chose the beetles, the other player chose the ants. You're going to want to collect all the parts for that faction, the cards, the tiles, the boards, and then we're going to start making the starting deck. This starting deck for the beetles has 4 bug marches, 4 1 DNAs, 3 1 food, and 1 2 DNA card. Down below here we can see all these different cards. And as you can see, the DNA has the bug symbol on it. Same symbol you're going to find at the bottom corner of the player board. Here are the other cards that we're using. Gather those cards up and then shuffle the deck. This is going to create your starting deck. The starting deck is set next to your player mat. This is going to be your player deck now, as it's going to be building up throughout the game. To create our starting hand, we're going to draw off 6 cards. 4, 5, 6. This is going to be our starting hand. Normally this would be hidden, but I'm going to show it here so you can see how it looks. So the beetle player here has 2 bug marches, 2 1 DNAs, and 2 1 foods for their starting hand. Now let's set up the game boards. The 2 general game boards for a 2-player game are going to be set up by the player to the right of the player with the highest initiative. In this case, the beetles have a 4 initiative, and the ants have a 13 initiative. Therefore, the beetles will get to set up the 2 center game boards. In a 3 and 4 player game, you're going to be using 3 game boards. Due to the fact that we have the ants in play, the jelly bean's always going to be one of the tiles we have to use, and you can see this at the bottom of the ants board. In this case, the beetle player chooses to use these 2 game boards. They must use the jelly bean board, and they choose to use the board that has the sand because of one of the missions they need to flip one of their beetle tiles. So they can orient these in any way they want, but they want to try to keep the jelly bean away from the ants. The jelly bean is a crucial power for the ants. Now, they may rotate the tile so it looks like this instead. That way they have a chance to go straight across, so they can fly right through there and still get to the other side to attack the ants. Now each player is going to put their game boards in the orientation they wish to put them. Now you still have to put them in the right places, so you can look at the rule book to find out where they go. However, in this case here, you can flip them, you can orient them however you want. The beetle player may want to do this, get some sand up there, or if they want to be a little more aggressive, they can have their person up to the front, but the sand's going to be farther away. Now remember, if they're trying to get that sand mission really quick, they want that extra sand space, so this will be the orientation they probably go with. So now the ant player placed theirs. They wanted to get as close as possible to the jelly bean, and they didn't really care as much about the grass, they just wanted a quick way that they can get over there. Now let's look at the starting units. Each player is going to have a starting unit that starts on the board. The beetles have the blister beetle, so they're going to take that starting unit tile, and they're going to place it so that they choose whichever way the arrow is going to face for the facing of it, and it goes on the space that has the symbol of the bug. It's also going to have the color background the same as your bug's color. That's your home spawn point. So we just place it on there, choose where we want it to face. In this case here, the beetles having it face straight ahead so that they can kind of fly up and get towards the ants faster. They could have oriented it in a different way though if they wished. Now the ant player starts with the worker ant. They're going to place that on their home spawn point just as the beetles have, and they choose the orientation of the bug in whichever direction they want it to face. Let's talk about the tech deck now. We're going to remove the missions for the time being, and we're going to look at these tech deck cards. For your first game, I highly suggest that you lay these tech deck cards out so you're able to see them all. Normally you would just put them into a deck and just right beside you face up so you can choose and go through them, so they just sit like this. You can go through them at any time and purchase stuff, but for your first game, it's recommended to lay them out one at a time just so you can see them all laying on the table like so. This will help you to choose what you want to purchase and just help expedite the game for the first time playing. Now let's set out the mission cards. These are the things that you're trying to complete to win the game. After you complete all 6 missions, you're going to win. Now there's different star levels of each of these missions. You can see them at the top right corner. As you're laying the missions out, make sure they're laid out so star is face up. Your mission cards vary from 1 to 3 stars. You're going to have 2 of each star level. So 1, 3, and 2. You have 2 of each. If you buy expansions that have more missions, they're going to also have star levels on. You can always replace a mission of 1 star level for another mission of the same star level. Some missions require you to do a thing. In this case, kill 10 opposing bugs. Use these tokens here to keep track of how many times you've done it. When you complete a mission, you're going to rotate it so it's facing up the other way. You're going to have your evolution points facing up, and in some cases like this one, you're going to have extra actions that you can take. In this case, this is an action you can take for any beetle that costs 3 or less food to be able to use any space on the board as if it was grass. Each faction has various different missions and each one does different things. So as you do these, it's going to unlock new abilities for your faction. Alright, so now let's look at the general cards. This one here is the anger card. It allows you to attack with a bug that costs 3 or less food to spawn. In this case, let's look at the dung beetle here. The dung beetle costs 1 food to spawn on the board, so you could use anger to attack with it. However, the dung beetle has a flip ability that whenever he's flipped over, he's going to look a little different. As you can see, the other side does not have a food icon on it. Therefore, you couldn't actually use this to attack with it, even though the dung beetle has the little red sword, which means you can't attack normally. The next general card is Busy as a Bee. It gives you 2 actions, so you pay an action to get back 2 actions, so essentially you're gaining 1 action. The third one is Supplies. This one lets you draw 3 cards. And the last one is Nasty Bite. This is an attack card, lets you attack with any of your units and gives a +3 to the front facing arrow. That's the arrow in the front of the unit. Then we lay out our resource cards and our hunger cards. So resources is the food 1, 2, and 3s, the DNA 1, 2, and 3s, and the leftovers. And below that you can see that I have the hunger cards. The hungers is a randomized deck that is shuffled that is mostly bad towards you and gives your opponent minus bonuses. You don't want to get a hunger, but there are some people that can just give them to you. One last note on the general cards. The 4 that we went over are the ones in the base game. The Kickstarter may include more if the stretch goals hit, and also other expansions could add more of these to the game. So just take note that they're not the only ones that will ever be available. They can be switched in and out. So here's a 2-player setup, fully set up. Now the table I'm using here is a little constricted. I should have really set it up on a larger area, or I should have turned the board a little bit more to give myself some more space. I didn't put the grass tokens out, they're still in the bag here, mainly because when you're playing just solo against the ants, you're going to be seeing the ants going after that jelly bean quite a bit, and most of the action is going to happen over there and not towards the grass. So they are there if they need to be, but I don't see grass taking a giant toll in this battle. Thank you for watching. This was Setup. Next we'll be seeing some of the gameplay, go over everything. Have a great day.